Let's talk about it. It is terrible when a man has to give up his identity, living with a good girl, deceiving her day after day and concealing a part of one's life and personality. Sometimes you feel a strong need to open up and search for moral complicity. But you can't do that out of precaution or for fear of not being understood. You feel empty and don't desire anything in particular. Horst Fantasini. It is not easy to talk about certain questions. Moreover, the most difficult thing is to start, especially as far as I'm concerned, as I'm not what you'd call storyteller, but rather the opposite. I had already thought of writing something about living in hiding, not so much about my personal experience, I don't like self-celebration, as about the way we see clandestinity in our milieu. Let's forget any digressions as to the meaning of the word. Up until I experienced the situation, both negative and positive at the same time, I thought it was something that didn't concern me. Then, out of the blue, I found I had plunged into it. That is exactly how it happens. Maybe you imagine it differently, but it's just like that. From one minute to the next, you find yourself absolutely alone, even if you are with someone when you first hear the news. Then, if you decide to live in hiding out of choice, methods of struggle, or simply bad luck, you suddenly find yourself in a strange situation. At least that was my impression. When I heard there was an arrest warrant out for me, I felt completely lost. Perhaps if we thought about living in hiding as a consequence not so much of our actions and way of life, as of pure repression against those who decide to live outside the rules of the system/capital, things would be much clearer. Those who want to rule our lives know perfectly well how hard it is to find yourself completely alone all of a sudden, how difficult and frightening it is to speak to others, and the fear and paranoia that other people experience when they mention you. All this should not just be regarded as a repressive measure, such as prison, house arrest, bail, etc., but as a precise method aimed at cutting off relations between individuals and situations. The difficulties and fear involved in any discussion on the subject, in the environment where the individual on the run used to live, are extremely damaging to the latter, and extremely advantageous to the enemy, whoever they are. What I think we should do when a comrade is in the shit is to talk about it. When someone ends up in jail, he can receive mail and visits from lawyers and relatives. This could also be the case for those living in hiding, be it by choice or by necessity, with due precaution and method. But people find it difficult to talk publicly and openly about that. When I had friends living in hiding, I was scared to talk about them or even to organize solidarity initiatives. But now that I've experienced that situation myself, I think that it's absolutely vital to start a discussion on the subject, especially so that those living in hiding can feel they are as close as possible to the situation they lived in before. I can assure you that it's not always like that, especially at first. I don't have the solution to this problem, but I think that proper discussion and analysis, between those who've experienced clandestinity and all those who feel like discussing this repressive measure, could be very useful. I think, as I've already said, that the system finds it easier to file an arrest warrant and force those who don't want to rot in jail to live in hiding, rather than carry out arrests and then put up with solidarity actions, demonstrations, initiatives, a lot of noise, etc. Of course, the repressors only allow this to happen on certain occasions, according to the moment, but I don't think this hypothesis is unfounded. I believe this is a very important question because the system only decides to act immediately when it is pressed by the media and public opinion, and it often risks giving shit performances, as we have seen. Moreover, given that the judicial system is making gigantic strides daily with the intent of reaching total control, and that its disgusting servants, the TV and the press, spread whatever news they are told to, the system has plenty of time to control these situations as it likes. This is also possible thanks to the spread of submission and conformity in general, even if, in various contexts, there are faint signs of a reawakening here and there. If these aspects are taken into account, people living in clandestinity might decide to put an end to it, and, for instance, give themselves up because they think this might be better than staying underground. I don't consider this choice to be a cowardly one, as some comrades do. When you are living in hiding, your perception of the situations you lived in before changes, as you are looking at it from the outside. You probably manage to be a bit more rational. But it is exactly this living outside that makes you feel alone and sometimes unable to face the paranoia that goes with a clandestine situation. The importance of these few lines doesn't lie in the fact that they fill up a pamphlet, but because they remind us of the many people and comrades who, as we are doing our shopping, enjoying a gig, or life in general, are compelled to stay away from the people and places they love. Being aware of the problem doesn't mean that we solve it, but it's a good step towards making sure that people in hiding, and all those who might become such, not only live this condition better, but are also able to keep on struggling alongside their comrades.